You start out in the trial court, and Ohio has a lot of different types of trial courts, and they hear all kinds of different cases, from criminal cases to various types of civil cases, things like divorces, custody. And these are the courts where when people think of a court, they watch television, this is what they think of. Oftentimes there's a jury, there's evidence that's presented, and there's one judge that presides over the cases, and then a decision is made. Either the jury comes back with a verdict, the judge makes a decision, and if a party doesn't like it, because somebody's going to lose, they can appeal that to a court of appeals in Ohio.
So there are 12 different courts of appeals in Ohio. In Hamilton County, it's the First District Court of Appeals. It's very different from a trial court. First of all, there is no jury. Secondly, there's no additional evidence. So every case decided at the Court of Appeals is decided on the record. What the judges do, instead of having a jury, there are 3 judges on a panel. So the party has to convince 2 out of the 3 judges to go their way on a case. And the judges will look at the evidence in the case, at the record, and look at the law and decide whether to affirm, to modify, or to reverse the trial court. And then if the party doesn't like that decision, they can attempt to get it into the Supreme Court of Ohio.
But that's really easier said than done, because the Supreme Court accepts very few cases. It's a court of what's called discretionary jurisdiction, which means it doesn't have to hear a case that you appeal to it. And as a practical matter, it only hears about 2 to 4% of the cases that are appealed to it each year. And that really shows the importance of the appellate courts because, for instance, the First District here in Hamilton County is effectively the Supreme Court for Hamilton County because so few cases get up to the Ohio Supreme Court. I think fundamentally they want to know that the court has treated their case as if it is truly important, because I've represented a number of clients over the years and they believe every case I'm handling for them is the most important case anywhere in the country. And so if the court doesn't treat it that way, they're going to be disappointed and they're going to come away from that experience not believing in our institution and in our judiciary.
And the way people and litigants understand that a court is going to treat their case with the utmost respect is if you appear in front of judges that you can tell have taken the time to understand your issue. If the judges have done the research and they're asking the right questions at oral argument, if the court has rules that allow you to fully brief your case and they don't give you some obscure page limits or limits on what you're allowed to do, and that you know that the court's not going to be a rubber stamp, that when you get up in front of the court, win or lose, you know that the judges have worked really hard to come to the best decision that they could.
And also, in order for the public to have trust in our courts, they have to know what's going on in the courts. So the courts should be open for people to come in and actually see cases, but also specific to decisions, these need to be well-reasoned and well thought out, well documented why the court came to the decision that it did, so that everybody who leaves the court feels like they had a fair shot, even if they lost. Work ethic. Judges are supposed to be public servants, and part of being a public servant and serving our community is having the commitment and the discipline to put in the work to make sure that the decisions are fair.
But judges also need to be qualified and experienced and have an understanding for appellate practice, which is for an appellate court. And ultimately, if you have that experience and that understanding, you will be able to not only do a good job, but also to find the problems in the system and work to fix them.
Judges also need to be impartial and independent. So with impartiality, they have to treat everyone that appears in front of them the same. Doesn't matter if you've got lots of money or a lot of political connections, everyone is equal under the eyes of the law. And with regard to independence, judges have to rise above politics. They have to be able to make the tough decisions that maybe are not politically popular, but are the right thing to do under the law.
So what more can we do for transparency or access or whatever the question is going to be?
So what's been really interesting to me on the campaign trail is talking to a lot of very politically savvy people who vote in every election, but tell me, sometimes kind of embarrassed, that they often don't vote for judges because they just don't know who to vote for. And having as many judicial races up this year as we do, and every race is contested, so we have a lot of candidates going around the community, we are having a really good time educating people about our court system, especially the mystery court, which is the Court of Appeals.
But it can't end there. Like, it has to be an ongoing process to get people interested and engaged in the judiciary, and to continue that education process, getting out into the community, both when you're campaigning, but also after the campaign is done, and to talk about these issues, to let people know, to answer their questions so that they understand the court. Because ultimately, there is a huge drop-off for the voting for judges, and that's the only way to cure that, is to make people understand the court, to let them know how important it is, and to have that discussion with them. And like Candace said, I've really enjoyed having that dialogue with voters all across the county so far.
I was canvassing earlier this year before the primary, and I knocked on a few doors, and people told me, I have never met a judicial candidate before. And I'm just so happy that we are really, really getting out there and meeting as many people as possible, but it doesn't end at the campaign. Active judges, sitting judges, should also be out in the community meeting people so that the courts aren't such a mystery and these positions are known to people, so that when you're at the polls, you can think, oh, wow, I've met this person before. They seem like they would be a good judge. I'm going to vote for them.